Welcome to my channel. My name is Jake, and today I'm going to be going down this list and showing you all the parts I'm using to do a Mark II 180 build. So this video series is going to be for a beginner or someone just looking into getting into these cars or getting into doing an engine swap. So I'm not the best person to be doing this. I wish someone already would have done a Mark II 180 video series. I'm just going to be trying to put something out there that helps somebody. On my last series, I put a Vr6 into a Mark II. I'm going to be using that same list, and I'll link that down below for you guys if you want to follow along. I'm going to be showing you all the parts that I'm going to be using for this swap. So the link that I have for you guys down in the description, I know it says Vr6 on that, but it's all the same thing except for the motor brackets that go down onto the subframe that you're using. Everything else in the swap is pretty much the same. I'm going to try to do it step by step so you guys can really follow along with me. From my last series I learned a lot. There were still a lot of comments and questions that I had, so I'm going to be learning from that, going really slow, and I haven't done anything to the car yet. All I've done is take some of the stuff off. I'll be doing everything on camera this time, from putting everything on to really getting into the 180 engine, taking off all of the stuff that you don't need. I'm going to be doing that step by step. Before you even get a car, if you plan to do a swap, I would want to know if it was CE1 or CE2. If you're a beginner, you're going to want to know if it's CE1, you're going to have to rip out all the wiring and rewire it with CE2. I understand if you've done this before and you know what you're doing, but for a beginner, that is a lot, because I was there just a year ago. Pulling out all of my wiring and then putting in CE2, that is a daunting task for a beginner. So the first thing that I did was to find out if the car I'm looking at, if I'm going to be doing a swap, is it CE1 or CE2. So once you find that out, and we can move on to the next thing. So you figured out if it's CE1 or CE2. Next thing is what engine you're going to use. I use the AWP 180 engine for this swap. Next is a transmission. I'm using a G60 Corrado transmission, and the only thing I'm changing on that is the shift tower. I'm going to be using an O2J shift tower. And what that allows me to do is use an O2J shift box. And from the O2 shift box, that allows me to use the Sigma 5 short shift kit. And I'll be going over all that when we get to that point. So now that we know if it's CE1 or CE2, and we have a 180 engine, we have the G60 transmission, O2J shift tower with the O2J shift box. Now on the link below, I'm just going to go down that list and show you the parts that I'm using for this swap. Okay, starting from the list, the first one is the front crossmember. I'm using the Vr6 Swap crossmember. The next one down the list is the front radiator crossmember. I'm just using my stock Mark II. Next one down the list is a radiator, and I'm not sure which one I'm using yet. Next one on the list is the Kframe or subframe. I'm using a Mark III subframe. Next on the list is the A-arms. I'm using stock Mark II A-arms. Next on the list is steering rack. I'm just using a stock Mark II steering rack, which I don't have yet. Next is the spindles. I'm using Mark III spindles. Next is axles. I'm just using the stock Mark II axles, which I don't have yet. Next on the list is a brake booster bracket. I'm using a VR6 Swap bracket. Next is the brake booster. I'm just going to use my stock Mark II booster. Next is your brake master cylinder. I'm going to be getting a 22mm brake master cylinder. Next on the list is your steering column that comes out of here. I'm just sticking with my stock Mark II column. Next is pedal assembly. I'm using a Vr6 Swap assembly. Next on the list is your clutch master cylinder. I'm using a B4 Swap cylinder. Next on the list is heater box. I'm using a non-AC Mark II heater box. Next on the list is power steering lines. I'm just using my stock Mark II ones. Next is brake lines. I'm just using my stock Mark II brake lines. Next is your rear beam. I'm just using a stock Mark II rear beam. Next is a gas tank. I'm using a Mark III gas tank and the lines. If you guys need more detail or want to see how these parts are installed already, I'll link my Mark II Vr6 Swap series right here, so you guys can go to that and already see some of these parts going in. So in doing this video series, I'm just trying to put some information out there that's going to help somebody. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope it provides you with some information on some of the parts you need to get going on the swap. So in the next coming videos, we're going to be starting on the body to get it ready to put the 180T in there. So I'm pretty excited to start this series. I'll see you guys next video.